the next series of video, we are going to discuss about design patterns. This is important concept and important topic that needs to be learned at the early stages of software development field. There are many reasons for that. We will try to cover each design pattern in a detailed manner in the next series of videos. So first, we will try to relate this design pattern with the real-time example. So many people used to tell that the best time to have lunch is between 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and the best time to have dinner is 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. so that we can have a good dinner. So similarly, software experienced people usually says that we need to follow these design patterns to make a software reliable and to make a software to make a program in a performance way. So we need to follow these design patterns to make our software best one. So that's our motto. That's our motto behind this design patterns. So the definition for design pattern is they represent the best practices followed by experienced software developers. So software field is in movement from the last 20 years. So from that time, people used to see the many use cases. They used to solve those real world problems using some solution. So that software experienced people trying to group those solutions into a single to a templates. So templates means in this case design pattern. So if there is some common solution for n number of problems, means they will try to treat it as a design. So we need to follow that design if our use case falls in that category. So that's the power of this design pattern. If we learn this design pattern, then we can easily relate any real world problem with the existing design pattern. If there is no if your use case doesn't match with the existing design pattern, then we can create our own design pattern and we can publish our design pattern to the external world. So that's the power of this software design. That's the power of this design patterns. So this is targeted to solve the problems of object creation and integration. So suppose if you consider a software object-oriented programming, then the first thing that comes into the mind is object creation. So if there is an object, means there are many things that are related to this object. So object creation, initialization, object communication, like that. So everything will be handled in this design patterns. We will try to cover all the design patterns using some real world example and using some programs in the upcoming videos. Please try to watch all the videos in this playlist. And the design patterns act as templates for the real world problems. So I have already explained about this in the previous context. So if suppose there are n number of solutions, if suppose there are n number of use cases, if n number of use cases can be solved by a single problem, means then that is the template, that is the design pattern. So we can use that design pattern to solve our real world use cases also. So we need to first relate our use case with the existing design patterns use cases. If we can relate that our use case with the existing design pattern related use cases, then our problem is solved. So this was discovered by the 4 people, Erich, Richard, Ralph and John, and they published a book called Design Patterns, Elements of Reusable Object-Oriented Software in 1994. So this book covers 2 things. The first part covers pros and cons of object-oriented programming, and the second part covers 23 design patterns. So actually, the first part was covered by many books, but the second part is a unique one. At that time, these 4 people stands out from the other people. So the reason behind that is the second part, 23 design patterns. So these 23 design patterns falls under these 3 categories: creational design pattern, structural design pattern, and behavioral design pattern. So under creational design pattern, it covers object creation and initialization. For example, in case of software object-oriented programming, we need to create some objects for our real-world use case. So object creation, and then we need to communicate with the object from other objects. So that would be handled in using creation design pattern. And then comes the structural design pattern. Structural design pattern is we have some interface like USB interface, and we have the implementations for USB. So we need to decouple. We need to loosely couple this interface and implementation. If your software or modules are loosely coupled, means then your software is more reliable and more outstanding from other things. And then third one is behavioral design pattern. So if suppose this is a class and using this for this class we have created 5 objects, means if suppose these 5 objects needs to communicate with the class thing, so the communication between class and object will be handled in the behavioral design pattern. So we will try to cover every design pattern in the upcoming video.